From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is the Midday Report on LALATE.
It's a big midday here on LALATE, direct from Santa Monica, California, with your fourth stimulus check update of 2022. According, we're going to go over the breaking news as I support Ukraine. And we're going to go over the bad news that happened just the last few minutes, as now the price of gasoline at the pump is skyrocketing since the morning show just 2 hours ago. 2 hours ago, I delivered the breaking news that gasoline prices have gone up from $1 to $1.01 a barrel, international crude, and now it has surged to $1.07. That's in 2 hours, folks. The highest number since 2014. This is a major problem across the board as stock markets are now crashing. This is the result of the Ukrainian battle with Russia's invasion. I'll have the latest details today and how it impacts your wallet. But tonight, the president will address the American people in the State of the Union address, and I'm going to address that in this recording. I'm going to explain to you what he's going to talk about and what he's not going to talk about, and he has a lot to cover. Then we're going to go over those incredible checks that are in Build Back Better Act that are going to happen. Whether or not he mentions them tonight, which he's likely not, they're still happening. And I'll have the latest details on that across the board. Then we go into the big money that's available from first, second, and third stimulus, and the CR for Stimulus 1.0. Just a few days away with that inherent deadline of $1.5 trillion of discretionary funds. But in this very, very fluid situation, as now gasoline prices have skyrocketed even worse than I had even reported 1 hour ago, 2 hours ago, what is at issue? World markets cannot collapse, economies cannot go offline, and inflation cannot be out of control. We have a lot of major economic breaking news minutes ago. It all impacts your wallet. I so stand with Ukraine, you stand with Ukraine. And in this recording, we'll go over the situation tense on the ground as an envoy of tankers are now stalled. They ran out of gas. No joke. The Russian tanks ran out of gas right outside of town. All the latest details from the battleground of Ukraine. It all starts right here as Home LA Special Edition I Stand With Ukraine starts right now. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're doing well. If you're watching the show live on air at 11 a.m., good day. And if you're watching it at 7 o'clock tonight, good evening. Breaking, developing details that impact your money tonight as the President of the United States addresses the American people in the incredible State of the Union address. But what will he mention and what will he not mention? I'll go over the latest details in this recording so you know what he's doing, whether he mentions it or not tonight. Build Back Better Act is happening. Will pass. We'll have those MSC checks in there, says the legislators to viewership of this channel. No change across the board, but continuing resolution sooner than that could give you a $2,000 stimulus check. SS 300 right behind that. That could raise your benefits up $300 across the land. And then the president's efforts to solve a really bad problem getting worse by the minute. On Mornings in LA, I recorded to you just 2 hours ago that the price of gasoline had surged $1 a barrel since yesterday. It surged $6 more since that recording 2 hours ago. Now to its highest levels we have not seen since 2014. And this is a major problem because if it gets to these levels any worse, we could be in major economic trouble. I'll have the latest details of what's going on the battleground in Ukraine as that major tanker, major envoy of trucks are heading to the capital city and ran out of gas. I kid you not. The latest details about that and the battleground to maintain the Russian forces outside of these major cities all across this recording. And then, of course, we turn into the big money you can get from third stimulus in this video. If you're new to this channel, this is a hybrid broadcast. This is a hybrid show. The first half deals with your money and your ability to get money from this federal government. First stimulus, second stimulus, third stimulus, CR, SS 300, Build Back Better Act. And the second half of this recording has sort of morphed. Normally it's about food and home and beauty and decor, but now it's about the situation on the front in Ukraine and how it impacts your wallet as well. I stand with Ukraine, and in standing with Ukraine, I also wish to educate you about how the battleground is also impacting things internationally, at home and overseas, and you need to know it. Because if you're getting a $600 stimulus check or $1,000 or $2,000 stimulus check and you go to the pump and suddenly it's $20 a gallon, then suddenly it has no value. You need to understand these major economic forces. And boy, in the year and a half since this channel's been around, I've never seen economic events change so dramatically in such a short period of time, no less than 2 hours. Let's go into the great details tonight, this afternoon, about your Build Back Better Act. The President of the United States will be addressing the American people in the State of the Union address tonight. The State of the Union address is not a time in which the President gives you a debriefing of everything he's going to do. It's a publicity event in a way. It's a prime time major speech to sort of get support behind him in general. This is what presidents do. That's the purpose of State of the Union address. So you're not going to hear him say MSC. You're not going to hear him say stimulus check. You're not going to hear him say rent assistance because of COVID. You're not going to hear him say lower prescription medication. You're not going to hear him perhaps even say Build Back Better Act. That's not the purpose of a State of the Union address. First, there's a time limit element. That's the first thing. Second, they don't have enough breathing room with all these major things to cover in just a short period of time to cover it all. So I want you to understand, if you don't hear words, doesn't mean it's not happening. He doesn't have time to go over it in tonight's recording. And because the purpose of a State of the Union address is not to give you a breakdown of item by item. That's to say, needless to say, that the Build Back Better Act will get done. In my prediction going into tonight's State of the Union address, you may hear words like my economic agenda, and that's it. You may not even hear what the economic agenda is because there's so much else to deal with across the land. Now, let's understand that when he addresses the American people tonight, his position on Build Back Better Act is not changed. It's passed. He says that in comments that are not part of the State of the Union address, but through his press secretary. 3 classes of checks, 3 add-ons of checks that pay you a lot of money, including those adult automatic IRS stimulus checks. He has said they're going out, and the senators that work with him say it's going out. 3 classes, 3 add-ons. Let's look at them right now, one at a time, and understand how much money it is. It's a lot. Its starts at about $15,000, but grows to about $60,000 of checks. They're going out, and it's absolutely happening. Here we go. In that first cluster of checks, they got in there hazard pay, and it stayed in there, and it's going to become a law. Hazard pay, 1 more year for my essential workers. $4,000 of elder care got in there. $4,000 of care for young children. They got in there. The Pell Grant recipients, $550 check, the money to repair your home if you live in a low-income community. $12,500 for a new electric vehicle. Wow. And a lot of other incredible checks. That's the first of 3 clusters of checks. There's also 3 add-ons of checks. The first add-on comes from here in the shores of Santa Monica, California, looking at our beautiful surf and sand today here in Southern California. Jump on the live chat and tell me where you're tuning in from and how the weather is. The first add-on comes from our legislator here in Southern California. It is money to buy your first home. It's huge, just a little bit less than $25,000. Got it in there on the House side. It's staying in there. Great news across the board. In that second cluster of checks, we have home repairs and paid leave. Got it in there. Paid leave if you have to stay home due to sickness or illness, or because you got tired of watching Mitt Romney yawn during the State of the Union address. Let's see if he yawns again tonight. Let's now go to the second add-on of checks. And that second add-on of checks comes from a big campaign promise from Joe Biden. Can you imagine that if you're a senior or person on disabilities, you don't have home health care in this country? Oh, boy, absolutely needed. And that got in there. And that is less than $250 billion. It's huge. Got it in there. Now let's turn to that third cluster of checks. All those checks got in there, stayed in there. Free internet for all checks. Need some of it right now. Reach out to the volunteers. They can help you get it right now under second stimulus. And then farmers checks, independent contractors checks, free school meals for all checks, cheaper prescription medication checks, and then money for my seniors. 2 checks on the House, more coming on the Senate side. On the House side, they got in there the dental, vision, and lowering the eligibility age of Medicare. Well, actually, that's the Senate side. The House side, they got in there the Medicaid gap fix and the hearing checks. Now, the senators have a lot of checks to add in there, and those checks that they say they're going to add in there, of course, are MSC. Legislators represent they're adding big checks to this incredible recon. Now, let's recap again, as I said before. Tonight, State of the Union address, Joe Biden. He ain't probably even going to mention Build Back Better Act by name. He may just say my economic agenda. He's not going to say the word check. He's not going to say the word checks. He's not going to say the word MSC. He's not going to say rent assistance because of COVID. He doesn't have time to do any of that. It's a quick speech for 10 seconds. Not going to say he doesn't care. It's because it's sort of the purpose of the event is not to get you a debriefing of everything he's doing. But that MSC, how much are they going to pay? That's where you default to what the senators are doing on the workaround. The provisions that they say that they're putting in there are monthly stimulus checks for everyone who got a third stimulus check. And who would get this MSC? What is it? How much does it pay? How does it work? Let's go over all the incredible details of it starting right now. An MSC is a monthly IRS stimulus check that comes out to you from IRS. And the eligibility the legislators represent is the same as a third stimulus check. Single individual, 75,000 less, will get it. Married couple, 150,000 less, get it as well, double it. Family of four, get it, quadruple it. And benefits, SSI, SSDI, Social Security Railroad benefits, you get as well. It's not income, it's not taxable. It's offered nationwide, not state by state. It goes off the most recent tax return. Adult dependents also get it. And if that tax return had a direct deposit account listed on it, that's how you get paid. How much? $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter for up to 6 months. Again, you're not going to hear the president say check or Build Back Better Act or any specificity of any of these provisions because he doesn't have running time tonight. But he may say the words like economic agenda. Well, what is he also not going to say tonight? He's also not going to talk about tonight the continuing resolution. Yawn. Because that's not something that's going to draw in TV ratings. No one's going to hear about the continuing resolution. It takes, a YouTube channel like this to explain what it is. And he doesn't have the running time to explain what continuing resolution is. But it's getting done. Continuing resolution is the fastest way you get a check of anything, with the exception of third stimulus, in today's recording. The continuing resolution has $1.5 trillion of discretionary funds put in there by bipartisan support, Republicans and Democrats, with an inherent deadline just a few days away from now. So everything is lined up perfectly for it. Again, $1.5 trillion. That's enough, folks, for a $2,000 stimulus check. Second, bipartisan support, Republicans and Democrats. Third, inherent deadline just a few days from now. And there you go. So what is left to be discussed about CR for Stimulus 1.0? You got to ensure that they don't take the money and spend it on a park. I'm not joking. You got to make sure that you advocate. And we're at a crunch line. We're at a crunch moment. And that crunch moment's right now. So pick up the phone and contact your senator to say, hey, continue resolution, March, early deadline, $1.5 trillion. That's enough for a $2,000 stimulus check. Discretionary, cabinet, U.S. cabinet, put it in there. We're not asking you to add funds to the CR. It's already discretionary funds allocated. Just use some of the allocated funds for us. Very simple. $2,000 stimulus check out of the CR. Now, want to take it up a notch professionally, respectfully, but in argument? Yeah. Say, hey, Build Back Better Act, we've waited 11 months. Hasn't happened yet. We were owed a check. You said we're going to get checks, lots of checks. We haven't got a penny for Build Back Better. We need money. Inflation's out of control. Gasoline's out of control. LATE's about to show us in this video how gasoline went up $4 a barrel in 2 hours of this channel today. I mean, just insane. We need money right now. Give us some money and do it professionally and respectfully when you make the advocacy. Now, CR for Stimulus 2.0 and 3.0. That is the economic pieces of legislation that are being passed in the House and Senate. One is passed in the House by Democrats. The Senate has the Republican. They're merging them. Inherent deadline, not right there. And that is why SS 300 is the next item that is really lined up right here. SS 300, which has everything to do with I Stand With Ukraine, is an element that has two important factors that you need to know at the time of this recording right today. One, it's dependent upon inflation, and two, It's dependent upon one guy's mindset and his view of the situation in Ukraine. And who is that? All the details for you coming up right after the commercial break. Then we'll be going into the breaking news as gasoline prices at the pump, you haven't seen them yet, but you're going to, are absolutely about to skyrocket. The price of Brent crude skyrocketed many dollars a barrel in just 2 hours on this channel today. I'm just shocked. And boy, this is all because of Ukraine and Russia. All the latest details and how it impacts you and what the president needs to do right now with world leaders to deal with the situation. Plus, we'll be going to the battleground of where it is right now, what's going on with that envoy of tankers heading to the capital city of Ukraine. All the latest details. We'll be looking also at the refugee situation in Hungary. What is being done? What needs to be done more? It's a big afternoon's. It's a big broadcast here from LA. See you back in 60 seconds as the news continues.
If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE.
And the latest news continue right now, direct from the shores of Santa Monica, California, on Home LA. We'll be going over the latest details of what's happening in Ukraine right now, and the financial meltdown of the Russian markets, and why that's impacting us negatively back in the States right at the moment. You're looking at stock footage of the beautiful country of Ukraine in these clips right now. But we'll be looking at what Joe Biden will be saying tonight and what he won't be saying. Your big money, you're getting your stimulus checks. You're getting lots of checks from Build Back Better and all these other programs, but you're not going to hear about them tonight in the presidential address. So what about CR for Stimulus 1.0? I have all those incredible details and more as we go into a big second half. And boy, I never thought that I would tell you in 2 hours after I've gone off camera since morning on light, the price of gasoline has skyrocketed through the roof. It's a day like this, you do not want to miss a video because it's a very fluid situation. And with that, I want you part of this incredible family. What are you watching? You're watching LALATE, the #3 most watched financial news channel in America. In a year and a half, we have skyrocketed. Last night's Evenings LALATE, which is a 1-hour special report and will air tonight as well at 5 p.m., was the most watched show of this channel in 3 months. Watch tonight's Evenings LALATE for a special report on what's happening on the battleground in overseas and how it impacts your wallet as well. All right, let's go right into CR for Stimulus 1.0. The thing at issue is that it's right there and it needs to get done. A $2,000 stimulus check, insert it, get it out the door. So that is what has to be done because it's right around the deadline. The money's been dedicated, it's discretionary, it's all set up, it's bipartisan support, ready to rock and roll. The next thing that Joe Biden has in his toolbox, and this is his toolbox, as you're seeing in this video, I'm going to separate who has things that they can do. This is SS 300. Joe Biden needs to make the phone call today to the Social Security Administrator saying replace COLA with inflation right out the door. And in 30 days, millions of Americans who are seniors who are struggling badly will get those extra funds. The situation is the following. SS 200 was a campaign promise by Elizabeth Warren in 2020 to raise your benefits up $200 a month for 6 to 12 months. Then she withdrew from her run for president. Joe Biden says, I'll do it. And he did. He ran the campaign based upon that promise. He won the general election. Then he published it on his website, joebiden.com, saying at the time that millions of Americans needed that money in November 2020. SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, $200 more for 6 months. And then he didn't deliver it. For 12 months, we talked about it being worked up in fifth stimulus. 4 weeks ago, I said I had enough again. Just like CR for stimulus, I came up with the idea of how he does it. Very simple. He just calls up the Social Security Administrator saying, take COLA, replace inflation. Joe, make the phone call. The situation is very important today. Why? If you swap out COLA with inflation, you get your benefits locked into the current rate of inflation. Your benefits go up right away. Where's inflation right now? It's 7.5, 8%, something like that. Jay Powell, your head of the Federal Reserve in the United States, on Capitol Hill today, this week, talking about how to bring down inflation. Yeah, so you don't want your benefits tied to inflation after it's brought down. You want them tied to the highest inflation rate you're going to see, perhaps of a generation, that's right now. The breaking news on this at the moment is that analysts think that Jay Powell may have to wiggle. Do I agree? I do. Let me go over what is going on here. If we swap out COLA for inflation right now, you would potentially see a raise of your benefits up $200 a month right away. That's because the inflation rate is hovering at 7.5% in December, which I got right. Everyone said it was going to be 1 or 2%. And the analysts' reports are consistent today, including from Jay Powell, one of his governors, speaking to Santa Barbara over the weekend, that inflation has not gone down last month either, and won't go down this month either. Good. So if Joe Biden swaps it out, you're getting that 8% right now, that additional $200 a month right now. You don't want to wait on this. You don't want Joe Biden to wait on this because inflation is coming down. How soon is inflation going down? This is breaking news right now. You didn't even hear this just an hour ago. A new report from Moody's Analytics chief economist Mark Zandi, who I featured on this channel for almost a year and a half, says that Jay Powell has a really difficult problem this week. He has to thread a thin needle. The balancing act is going to be very difficult. My sense is he leads with the uncertainty that the Russian invasion could take many different paths, each one a darker one than the other. He'll reinforce the point that in such heightened uncertainty, it may make sense for the Fed to be a little more cautious in enacting policies. What does that translate as? It translates as he's basically saying what I think that Jay Powell is going to do. Jay Powell has 5 meetings in 5 months to determine if he's going to have 5 interest rate spikes in 5 months. Each time he raises the interest rates, the inflation goes down. That's what we had before Russia invaded Ukraine. Right before Russia invaded Ukraine, we thought maybe he'll do 7 spikes in 5 meetings, really bring inflation down fast. And then we thought maybe the first meeting, which is just a few days from now, he won't do the average quarter basis point spike. He'll do a half basis point, really bring inflation down quickly. Well, analysts now believe what I've been saying, which is I think that the first meeting, which is a few days from now, he's going to do a quarter. He's going to do something less strong because the situation in Ukraine is so tense. A lot of analysts believe the same thing, and one of his governors, Mueller, in a press luncheon in Santa Barbara over the weekend, said, "I don't think he should come in too strong. This is good for you. That's why Joe Biden needs to make the phone call right now to say, hey, Social Security Administrator, replace COLA with inflation, get people more money." Let's do the numbers, folks. I mean, it's so obvious. You're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans benefits. You were struggling during the pandemic. Now you're dealing with inflation. And you're about to face massive gasoline spikes. There's certain things Joe Biden can't do and certain things he can't do. Joe Biden can't touch interest rates. That is done by Jay Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve. I just went over. But Joe Biden can pick up the phone and call people in his government agencies, his federal agencies, like the head of Social Security Administration he put in when he fired Commissioner Saul last year because he wasn't getting her checks on time. he can pick up the phone and say, replace COLA with inflation. Get my citizens who are seniors in SSI and SSDI $200 more per month right now. They're hurting inflation. I have to deal with gasoline. And that's what he should do right across the board. Again, you're not going to hear him talk about SS 300 in the State of the Union address tonight. But what you may hear, either him or the Republican rebuttal or the analysts before and during the State of the Union address tonight, is a very, very strange subject. It's the price of gasoline, Brent crude, and whether we as Americans should be making more of it now, or as an environment in which we're trying to be more energy efficient, should not be making more of it. I'm going to go over that in a second because that is a nail biter. But first, let's go to the breaking news because, boy, this is scary. I don't want to scare you, but I got to tell you, it's scary. World economies are dependent upon monetary policy, interest rates, and gasoline. And gasoline, if you're around in the 1970s, if it gets out of control, economies go under. They suffer inflation, they suffer recession, they suffer stagflation, they suffer massive unemployment, and places default. So the price of gasoline has to remain stable in not just your country, but the other countries you do business with all the time. The moment that Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine, we all knew that gasoline was going to be a subject matter. Why? Because Russia's a big exporter of gasoline. And immediately there was going to be sanctions. And we did. We sanctioned Russia and took the gasoline out of our supply chain. Suddenly, what happened? The price of gasoline shot up to from about 90 plus a barrel to 101 the day of the invasion. Then the U.S. tried to do efforts to bring it down, brought it down for $94 for about a day or two. It shot up back up to about 100 Saturday and Sunday on this channel. A new deal from the President of the United States over the weekend kept it at 101. This morning I was on air an hour ago. Told you the latest number, 101. Where is it right now? It's gone up 10% in 2 hours, folks. It's 107.26 right now. This ain't good. This ain't good. This is the international Brent crude, and this is not good. Who cares if you're getting a $1,000 stimulus check in your hand if suddenly gasoline at the pump is $20 a gallon? You got to get the gasoline under control. So let me go over the breaking details about this because this is scary, and I don't want you to be shaking your feet, but this is a very big problem, and I'm going to explain the problem to you, the options the president has, and what he can and cannot do. The issue at hand is the following. Countries produce gasoline. Some countries produce gasoline, some produce more than others, and then some produce none. And the ones that produce some save it and then keep it in storage. Now, that's called the strategic reserves. The more gasoline available in distribution around the globe, the cheaper the price of gasoline. The less gasoline available, the more expensive it goes up. If it goes up too high, economies crash. Governments big economies crash. So, Russia's been sanctioned. Its oil is out of the equation. What's the number one producing oil exporter around the globe? Jump in the live chat and tell me which country it is. I'll check back with you in a second and see if you know the answer. If you watch Mornings LA, you know the answer. Keep it quiet. Which country produces more oil and has more oil in storage? Well, here's another question for you. In the case of Italy, which doesn't produce a lot of oil, how much oil do you think it has stored in the case of an emergency like this? How long can it survive on oil if its oil distributor is no longer available? Who is its oil distributor? Russia. That's also going to come up in just a second. What happens is that now that Russia's out of the equation, several countries like Italy are dependent upon oil from Russia, have to find oil somewhere else. And this is why the Western Alliance is doing such a good job at the moment. It came in on the weekend when the President of the United States got a lot of countries to start pivoting and giving their oil to other countries and releasing some of their oil. Here's what's at issue. The United States has lots of oil stored in storage, but we can't just release our oil to bring the prices down. We have to agree to have other countries release their oils as well. And over the weekend, we got that great agreement as several countries agreed to release oil like India and Japan to bring us all down. How long did it help us? 10 seconds. We went down, we released some oil initially ourselves. Again, Vladimir Putin invaded. We went to 101 a barrel. We released some oil. We went down to 94. Then on that Saturday and Sunday, I told you the countries got aligned and released some more oil together. We came down to 100. We were at 101 1 hour ago. Now we're at 107. Why are we out of control again? Here's the quote. IEA Executive Director Faith Bureau, in a statement just minutes ago obtained by LA News, says, this is the International Energy Agency, says the situation in the energy market is very serious and demands our full attention. Global energy sector is under threat, putting the world economy at risk during a fragile stage of recovery. Folks, those are serious words. Those are serious words. The coordinated drawdown is trying to deal with something they've never seen in the history of its operations. The number is equivalent. So how many barrels are offline at the moment? Bob Yager, Director of Futures Divisions at Mizuho Securities, says that 60 million barrels has been put back into distribution from these reserves. But that is not enough to cover removing Russian oil by sanctions. We've removed far more Russian oil than 60 barrels, and all we're putting back is 60 barrels. The number is equivalent to about 6 days of Russian production, about 12 days of Russian exports. These numbers are very huge, folks. It means that countries are going to run out of oil in just a few days. They won't have any oil to run. 60 billion barrels isn't that much. The bottom line is, at the end of the day, it ain't going to cut it. It pales in comparison. Key European financiers, commodity traders have tried to curb financing. And Morgan Stanley today said we're looking at 105, we may be going to 120. Okay, let's jump in the live chat right now. Can you guess the number one exporter of gasoline and producer across the globe? And let's see if you got it right. Helen said Russia. Robin said Saudi Arabia. Anna said Venezuela. And let's see what some other people said. If let's go back to Anna. If Anna was not watching Mornings LA, she got it right. Venezuela produces an enormous amount of gasoline. It is the number one producer of gasoline and the number one exporter. And how much does it have stored? It has enough stored to last thousands of days. Thousands of days. How much oil does Italy have stored to survive? About 12 seconds. 12 seconds. They have more olive oil stored. So, what is going to happen with this? And here I'm going to go sort of merge over a little bit to commentary and also analysis for more just facts. When you look at the situation and you look at the oil crisis that is coming in like a tsunami, you're going to have at least three major things happening right now. And the three major things I'm going to go over right now are the following. One, you're going to have government say, park your car. You're going to have government say, park your car. There's no solution to Italy not having gasoline except park the car. You can't drive it. Take the bus. We'll give you the bus for free. That's a solution. Number two, in the United States, you can have a very, very tense situation, and I think the moderate Democrats are going to win on this. The moderate Democrats, which are like Joe Manchin, say, hey, we can make more oil right now in West Texas. But the progressives don't want us. They want us to buy electric vehicles. Hey, folks, get West Texas and make some gasoline right now. Get Wyoming to get some gasoline produced. Get it made right now. This is not a time and place to do climate control issues. We can do climate control issues after we're done with Russia and Ukraine. That's number two. Number three, you gotta work as a team, folks, on this. Because if you don't work as a team and you just protect U.S. interests, we're dependent on this financial stability of France and Canada, which is also the top three exporter of oil. We have to be a united front and all release a certain amount and help one another, because if one economy goes under, we all go under. The latest battleground issue on the front in Russia and Ukraine right now is very fluid. There's a big envoy of tanks heading to the capital of Ukraine. Now, it is about 40 miles outside this beautiful capital, which you're looking at right here. It ran out of gas. Logistics problems are plaguing the Russians like there's no tomorrow. Many are now calling for the Ukrainian resistance to really go right at the stalled vehicles and go after them right now. They're on the side of the road. They ran out of gas. To go after them and stop them in their tracks, 30 miles outside of town. There's also calls to really build up basically park trucks and public transport vehicles in the town and make a barricade, because this is going to be a ground-to-ground combat in the next 3 or 4 days. It's going to be a very, very in your face, city-to-city ground combat in the next few days. The situation on the economic front is very fluid. The Bank of Russia, the Central Bank of Russia, is basically on meltdown. The Russian economy is on meltdown. No one really can predict how badly it's going to be. But my analysis at the moment shows that Russia, which started the week at number 10 largest economy in the globe, may be number 15 by the end of this week and maybe 20 by next week. And if it continues past that, will be Cuba in about 3 weeks. It will literally go under. And as it goes under with a madman in control, anyone knows what could happen next. Meantime, on the refugee front, numbers are growing by the minute. 500,000 refugees on the Poland border and growing by the second. I do not believe we're doing enough as a country, as part of the NATO alliance, in helping the refugees. This is the area in which we are delegated to protect and help people in time of fleeing strife. And the Polish border, we're just not doing enough. We need to do more as a country, and I hope that Congress does a little bit more than get on their private jets and fly around. How about you get over there and get some refugee assistance to those people that are fleeing the horrible acts of aggression? Join me tonight and throughout the day. Of course, at 5 o'clock tonight is that special 1-hour report on the situation unfolding overseas. And then at 3 o'clock is a brand new Afternoons LALATE. You don't want to miss it. And with it, the situation is very fluid across the board. I stand with Ukraine. The situation is good at the moment, but can change by the hour. The financial news you see changing literally, shockingly, every minute. Stay away from stock investing. Stay away from crypto investing. Do not be buying anything at the moment. Everything is down and is going to crash more because financial markets are very unstable and you've never seen anything like this in a generation. Please be vigilant and careful. Join me next as Afternoons LA heats up. This video will automatically take you there. Or if you're watching this at nighttime, then after this show is Evenings Extra. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more. I stand with Ukraine.